Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week, and it is just 2 weeks until the next election. I mean, I say the next election, you never know when there's going to be another one, but yeah, just 2 weeks away, and we've got plenty of plankery to talk about, including the odd politician. I'm delighted to say we've got a brilliant panel for you. We've got Peter Bleksley, we've got Isabel Oakeshott, we've got Peter Barnes for the first time, and we've got Alice Grant as well. Welcome to all of you. We better get things off to a pretty racy start. Peter, who have you got for us for the first one?
Now, I couldn't possibly condone or encourage violence in any way, shape or form.
Of course not.
But everybody I've ever had the misfortune to meet from Just Stop Oil, in my opinion, would do really well by having a good smack in the mouth.
Yes.
Because
an old-fashioned policing technique, but one that we much miss.
Yeah, because they've got this entitled kind of attitude to them all.
Oh, yeah.
And this week, they've excelled themselves.
They have excelled themselves this week. Shall we have a look at what they did at the beginning of the week? Here they are, running into Stonehenge, which is a heritage site, of course, committing quite a serious crime by spraying what they said was some form of baking powder mixture or something onto Stonehenge.
I don't care what they sprayed. They were doing it through kind of like fire extinguisher type devices, so being done with some power behind it and all of that. And having listened to a number of experts recently, since this has happened, the lichen that are on the stones, the stones themselves are very sensitive. They are protected by the Monuments Act, a specific law which they will have broken.
Right.
And with any good luck, they will be going to jail for a significant time. Well, and they've turned millions of people against them.
Even Keir Starmer called it pathetic, which is pretty extraordinary from him. My favourite tweet about it was from Liam Gallagher from Oasis, who went, "Don't touch the stones, man." I thought that was one of the great moments, because the Druids will come for you. And I mean, maybe that'll be even worse for them, that there'll be some kind of curse. Some curse,
pagan kind of,
you don't mess with Druids.
Retribution. I mean, you were talking about violence, which we don't condone, but I'd quite like to turn those orange spray cannons on the protesters themselves. Could we turn them
and just
orange?
say, "Oh, don't worry, it washes off." Remember that stuff they used to use as well, the blue ink that used to get bank robbers? Can we not spray them with orange that never goes and they just stay orange, like Oompa Loompas for the rest of the time?
Detected, easily identified in a crowd.
I think sorry.
No, well, the good thing about this is I think they're turning everyone off the course. Their course. So, to be honest, it works in our favour, I guess.
I don't
People
know
with
anyone
common
now
sense.
that is in favour of this at all.
No, they look completely unhinged, and now they're targeting our tradition and our heritage in Britain. So they're clearly stating to everyone the message that they don't care about Britain, about the heritage.
No.
They just want to cause a
scene. I'm not sure they're that bothered about being hated, though.
And I think that's the point, and I think Peter hit the right word, entitled. It's the entitlement of these people believing that their big cause should, disrupt London pretty much every other week.
And the following day, angle grinders cut the fence at Stansted. In they go, spraying paint over private jets. The trouble is here, they have been appeased. The Metropolitan Police have some responsibility here. They appeased them when they were gluing themselves to roads, getting them bottles of water and offering to order a pizza and all that kind of nonsense. Members of the judiciary who handed down paltry, pathetic, insufficient sentences. Appeasement leads to this kind of stuff.
And this is what they're doing here, spraying these private jets. Now, I've got some news for them as well, because these two characters were doing it because apparently people are hungry. Despite they don't look very hungry to me. But apparently they thought they were spray painting Taylor Swift's jet as well. And they issued a statement saying that they had done that, thereby incurring the wrath of all Taylor Swift fans around the world. It turns out it wasn't Taylor Swift's jet after all. So actually, they didn't even manage to get that right.
No, exactly.
What a collection of absolute planks.
Let's hope they have very long jail sentences upon which they can reflect on their actions.
The thing that really annoys me is, when you get involved in these kind of political, protest movements, is you're supposed to take the rap on the knuckles. You're supposed to take the punishment.
Right.
And now what a lot of these lot are doing is they're going on these kind of just give me pages and getting other people to give them money to pay off all the fines and everything.
And also they moan about the
fact
they like those two characters that sat up at the top of the Dartford crossings. Remember, one of them was Australian, and they were like trying to get themselves freed on human rights grounds, despite the fact that they screwed up the entire M25 for sort of days on end. And they were like, "This is outrageous. They shouldn't be locked up." Well, yes, they should. Yeah. If you commit a crime, you do the time. Yeah.
And that appeal failed. But once again, revert to my original point. If they'd all had a good smack in the mouth in the past, they'd have a bit of humility about them.
Yeah, exactly right. And they wouldn't do it again either. You know, and one of the things that we didn't notice there, but at Stonehenge, luckily there were two decent, honest members of the public who actually grabbed these two idiots, one of whom was a 71-year-old Quaker.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never known what the point of being a Quaker is. I still don't know. They pull this guy away. So they stop him from doing even more damage.
You must know they're irritating if they've irritated a Quaker.
Yes.
Like, they're going
down. No, the Quaker was the guy doing the spraying.
Right. Was it? I thought
he's in Just Stop Oil.
Yeah. and then they sit down when they're challenged. They sit down because they haven't even got the balls to have a row with someone.
No, then they just say that they're not sorry, but they have to save the planet because it's the climate emergency.
Yeah. And 550 people died on the pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, and apparently that's all our fault as well.
Oh, is it?
And clearly it's got something to do with Stonehenge.
Yeah, it's too hot. Global
amongst
boiling.
those millions of people.
Global boiling.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
My God, I had a guy on with me this week who was warning about the Paris Olympics, saying, you know, it could be so hot that they won't be able to have the Olympic Games. And I went, well, yeah, or it might not be. And he went, well, that's true. You know.
Exactly.
Anyway, Isabel, over to you.
We'll sort the wheat from the chaff. If they can't compete in the heat, then they better get out.
Exactly.
Right, Rishi Sunak.
Who?
Rishi Sunak. I almost feel a bit bad nominating Rishi Sunak because, in a sense, it's sort of it's a given, isn't it?
It is.
Utter plankery from start to finish. But he took it to new levels this week with the most utterly ill-advised photo opportunity that you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
So
he's done a few, hasn't he?
He and David Cameron trotted off down to Devon
in
a bid to try to win over some farmers.
Yeah.
And somebody, I don't know what planet they're on, decided it would be a good idea to put the pair of them in a pen of sheep and try and get them feeding the sheep. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know with working with farm animals. I personally wouldn't be putting David Cameron with his history anywhere near the farm animals.
Sorry, what is he wearing? Is he
Gucci, darling.
Is he wearing a quarter zip to feed animals?
It looks like
he's crouched in that field, and as he tries to feed the sheep, they all run away. I want to use some other word there, but they're all basically buggering off.
Yes.
They want nothing to do with Rishi Sunak, even though he's actually got the goodies for them. And it's such a beautiful kind of symbol, a metaphor for this election. Those sheep could be voters. There he is, trying to hand out the sweeties.
They don't even want his food.
Trying to pretend he's got good things for them. The voters are like, we're not coming anywhere near you pair.
No, exactly. But also, he always looks so out of place. You know, the two sort of ridiculous things that he's done on the campaign, turning up. I sometimes think people are making fun of him. Let's go to the Belfast area and stand where they made the Titanic. And go, that's a great idea because nobody will make join the dots and go, are you on a sinking ship? And then he actually went on what looked like a sinking ship just the other day off the coast of Dorset. It was a fisherman.
I mean, it is so bad. You almost think that there are people deliberately on his own side that are trying to sabotage the whole operation.
Well, you might say some of them are taking bets on it. There appears to have been some kind of betting ring allegedly going on because they've now removed the campaign director, who was involved apparently or is under suspicion of having possibly placed a bet about when the election was going to happen. His wife, who apparently is a candidate as well. There's also another candidate who is one of Rishi's advisors and a member of the Her Majesty's Constabulary.
Well, Rishi isn't helping himself with his comment about Sky News and his deprivation because he didn't grow up with Sky News.
Well, he made it last week for that.
This could almost be sabotage, to be
my thing is with this, the advisors are like stitching him up. It would require them to be competent.
Yes.
And I think with everything that we've seen, I don't think they're the most competent people in the room.
Or just calculating. You can be calculating and incompetent. There are plenty of
Well, this week we learned that they're going to make the biggest loss electorally for the Tory party in at least 100 years, possibly 200 years. I mean, it's quite incredible how they can keep making it worse every week.
I mean, it's like the fall of an empire, isn't it? You know, everything is burning and it is sort of grimly fascinating to watch the disintegration.
To have had an 80-seat majority in 2019, to this. It's just shocking how much they squandered the people's trust and their votes, and how much they failed, I think, in
it's really
sustaining
incredible.
Democratic transparency. And
but also,
faith
you guys
in
have
the
been around
system.
politicians a lot, and you have to just wonder what it's like. I mean, you've probably been in these rooms where you sit there and you go, "What are we going to do now?" And you assume somebody
and
comes.
Someone says, "Let's go to a field of sheep."
Right.
Yeah.
And at that point, everyone else goes, "No, very bad idea, guys. What could go wrong?" Well, I think actually the sheep might. All sorts of
Well,
things can happen.
They could
when
have
sheep are
stampeded
involved.
over him or something. Also, who feeds the sheep? Nobody feeds sheep. You
No,
don't,
right, you don't do that.
I mean,
really,
you
do
go
you?
to some of these
Sheep go
wildlife
in-
parks and you feed the deer.
Yeah.
And you might even try feeding the odd giraffe. But you don't go, let's feed the sheep, do you?
Who are actually feeding a giraffe, I think, would have been a better look,
It
better
would have.
optics
Yeah, it would
than
have.
a
Yeah.
sheep.
I mean,
He's not a shepherd.
Keir Starmer, of
Not
course,
like-
isn't really that much better, but he's just sort of obviously not trying
Just
not to
hiding,
go,
basically,
not trying to go
isn't he?
too far out of Northumbria.
Yeah, the Labour Party seems to be doing everything in their power to keep Keir Starmer away from a TV camera.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you
it's
who I
very
haven't seen
deliberate.
much of. I haven't seen much of Angela Rayner either.
Well, I also think that is also very deliberate as well. I always thought she would be their most, their weakest link, the biggest kind of threat to their own destruction, which the Labour Party have a history of doing.
Yeah.
But she seems to have, rather, for want of a better phrase, reined it in. But
because presumably down at Labour Party HQ, they're sitting around when somebody says, "What should we do now?" They just go, "Nothing."
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
sit
Don't
back
need
and
to.
watch.
Yeah. My problem is he's got to get the keys and go, now what?
Yes.
And that's when we all should panic.
And the same people in the room who were telling him not to answer any questions, what are they going to say?
Yeah.
Who can know? Anyway, over to you, Peter, for the next one.
Yes.
Joe Biden.
Yes, so I chose everybody's favourite sleepy uncle. I chose Joe Biden, the President of the United States. He, again, had another kind of malfunction moment where he seemed to have froze.
He seems to have one every day now.
Every day, this is
Yeah.
the thing. So he was on stage at a kind of campaign rally event with Barack Obama, and it was like a bit of a star-studded event
Yeah, here we
in
are.
LA.
Yeah.
And he just seemed to have frozen for like 7 seconds.
He
or 8
stands
seconds.
there, you can see him there in the
and
middle.
just doesn't move.
Right.
That
And,
is
like,
so sad.
it's-
It actually breaks my heart.
Yeah.
This is elderly abuse at this point.
Yeah, this
He
is
should
a-
not be on a stage.
And then
He
Barack
should-
Obama leads him
He
off.
should be
Yeah,
careful.
and this is the thing, he had to be led off
Privately.
by
That's so
Barack
sad.
Obama. And I mean, my fear is he's doing this here, and yes, it's a little bit funny, but is he freezing in meetings with the Joint Chief of
course
Staff?
he is.
Is he
Yeah.
freezing
Of course
with
he is.
NATO?
I mean-
Like, we're joking, people
Yeah.
joke about
Look,
this stuff, but...
They've got to test this AI technology on someone. Right? Okay, and that's what Joe Biden is. He's an AI experiment.
I mean, last week we saw him down at the G7. And
Yeah.
it was Georgia Maloney who had to sort of bring him
Yeah.
back, and he sort of just
Yeah.
started wandering off
Yeah.
away from the group. And the funny thing about Democrats is that they keep defending it, saying, "Oh no, Joe's perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
What?
You know,
I mean-
he's actually, he was looking at something.
Yeah,
I think he was looking at some kind of skydiver or something like
The
that.
White House
and he
prefers-
clearly isn't.
The White House chief press secretary came out today and said these are all fake videos. It's all nonsense and lies. And I was like, it's not.
Right.
And the fact you're standing there and saying this stuff
Right.
is very
It
concerning.
is. They're trying to. I mean, they're saying at some points, "Oh, all of this stuff is made up on Twitter. It's all
Yeah.
made up by Republicans." Have a look at this, because this is another one from him this week.
I was a Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure going to introduce you all the way.
There's an amazing
No,
Trump
that
video
that
where
breaks
he's
my
pieced
heart.
together
Yeah.
a lot of clips back to back
Right.
of this kind of gobbledygook that Biden speaks.
But he does it a lot.
I mean, that is clearly authentic. I mean, there are videos that have been doctored. So there was one where it looked like he was sitting down on no chair.
Right, the
That
one from
actually
Normandy.
That was actually doctored.
Was it?
So yeah, I
Okay.
was quite shocked by that because it looked so
It
authentic.
did, it really
and then
did.
when you see the original, there's actually a chair there, so he was
Right.
sitting down.
Ah, okay.
So,
they took the chair out.
Unfortunately, the rumour goes round, and the damage is done before anyone can demonstrate that it's a fake.
Well, this is not fake because
Yeah.
I've seen this in real time with music playing around it. We haven't got the music right now, but this is what they call Juneteenth celebration,
Yes,
some
it is,
weird
yeah.
American thing. I don't even know
That's
what that
really
is.
interesting, the point that they're trying to gaslight us into
Yeah.
thinking that we're the crazy
Yeah.
ones when we see
That he's fine.
footage about these political events which happen. But
Yeah.
this happens a lot, they're trying to basically, essentially make us undermine our own common
Yeah, say
sense
that never happened.
and our own ability to
Right.
understand the situation.
Well, let's have a look at this
It's
again,
clear
because
to
when
see
you
what's
watch it,
happening.
you'll see that everybody else is dancing around him, and he is not. He's just standing there again, sort of frozen in time. Can we have another look at that? There we go. And he's sort of look at his hands, which are not moving at all.
I don't think he can dance, so can he really?
We have. Oh, there's the music as well. And guess who's standing next to him?
It's
you know who that
George
is?
Floyd's brother.
Very good, George Floyd's brother. has been invited.
It's as though he has to press the reset.
There's a guy in a dress as well. I saw another thing at the White House this week.
That was weird.
There was a guy in a dress being welcomed.
Kamala Harris.
Yeah, with a beard.
Yeah.
And then he went to the White House press room and stood behind the lectern and was sort of laughing and joking with the press, and they were all asking him questions like, do you find that you use that kind of shampoo for your hair? I was going, what's going on?
Oh, dear.
I mean, it's like totally captured by the Wokests.
Maybe it's not age with Joe Biden. Maybe he's just permanently drunk.
Yeah, could be.
Because after I've had 8
best
pints,
scenario, I hope so.
It just reminds me of...
I mean, I'm sure that if you asked somebody if this man, if you didn't know who he was, and you said, do you think this guy might be drunk? You'd go, well, yeah, probably. That's probably why he's slurring his words.
But how can the American people genuinely vote for this? This is the thing. So
I know.
why,
you
beggars believe that the Democrats can keep going with that because they must know that Trump will win.
Unbelievable.
But the thing that really gets me is he reminds me of one of these old Soviet Union dictators. They used to stick a rod up the back and wheel out onto the balcony. Yes, he's still alive. He's still alive.
Well, he's got a debate next week with Donald Trump, so
that is going to be
it must be one of the most watched things next week. It has to be.
Alice, over to you.
Okay, so we are now going to turn to the Not My King protesters.
Oh, yes.
This braying mob who are essentially shouting, the usual phrases, down with the monarchy. At Camilla, when she was,
not my king.
going to visit her.
He actually is your king. If you live here, he's your king. Whether you like it or not, he is your king. They're actually booing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some crowds booing at them as well.
Yeah. Down with the crown. Okay. Not my king. The thing I love about this outfit, Republic, is it's run by a South African.
Yes, right.
Actually,
that guy Smith.
Yeah, I've tried.
And he never talks about it.
I have tried to get in touch with him before and talk to him. I
Right.
can't remember quite why, and he's a real runaway from the media.
Oh, he is.
Guy. I mean, he'll only ever talk to the Guardian,
Right.
obviously.
I think the thing here is that when you actually look at the Republican manifesto, if you will, it is so utterly ridiculous, and it wouldn't not wash at all with the British public. They are essentially calling for replacing our head of state, which obviously since 1660 has been a continuous line of inheritance, the monarchy, one of our greatest institutions. And they are thinking of replacing this with a democratically elected head of state who is only ceremonial.
St. Tony of Blair.
Unbelievable. It's ridiculous. It's exactly President Tony Blair. Is that really what we want representing us on the world stage when we have such a treasure thing?
It isn't what the British people want.
No.
The poll after poll after poll shows very, very small support for republicanism.
The British people find this so distasteful, especially at a time when the Princess of Wales has cancer and King Charles as well. So considering the wider context of this family and what's going on, it is just simply so distasteful.
Mean-spirited.
Ghastly people.
Precisely, and no one likes it.
Another lot that need a good smack in the mouth, Peter, I think.
Well, then next time they have one of those...
Unleashing you.
It's quite a list queuing up now, isn't it, for me?
Next time they have a demo...
Queensbury rules, of course.
Yeah. I'm going to get a T-shirt printed up, and on the front, I'm going to have Nat My King. And on the back, I'm going to have a picture of Nat King Cole.
Very good.
Let's see if that
I like
cranks up.
it. I like it very much. Coming up, we're going to be going back to some Labour Party antics. We're also going to have a look at some more police getting involved with some livestock. There we are. Livestock. That's what we're going to be talking about. This is Plank of the Week. So, as we said at the start of the show, just 2 weeks to go till the actual polling day, and it's going to be a very, very exciting period, I'm sure. Lots of people that I've met from the Tory party go on holiday because they just can't bear to watch it. They just go, this is so awful. But I think one of the highlights for me of the last week was the fact that some people are making TikTok videos to try and get down with the kids. And I think none other than Dawn Butler has actually done one. You won't believe this. When I watched it the first time, I thought it's got to be a spoof. Somebody's got to have done this, and it can't possibly be real. Judge for yourself. Have a look.
Dawn Butler and Nelson Production. Come on, 4th of July. Don't forget to... We got 21 days to go. We got 21 days to go. If you like, let me know. Let me have a shadow. Got 21 days because they gotta go. Rishi at D-Day, where did he go? Say Rishi at D-Day, where did he go? Life don't let a liar run the show. Life don't let a liar run the show. If you like me, let me know. Let me have a shadow. Got 21 days before they gotta go. 21 days to go. 21 days to go. 21 days to go. 21 days to go.
I mean, the problem with doing any video like that is if you make the number the day you do it,
it's only
good for a day, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, partly that's why I've made her a plank, but also, it may well be considered to be, trendy and funny and all of that and down with the kids. But
is it? Is it? Can we just for a moment? Is this
also,
trendy
you're
and
supposed
funny?
to be a member of Parliament. You're supposed to be representing the people who vote for you. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it?
I mean, it's working for Farage, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing.
He is doing his
Yeah, but
ones
he's
are really
doing it
quite.
a bit smarter, though, isn't he?
What's the interesting with Farage is that he has a really large fan base of very young men on Twitter who make all these memes, and they are the ones actually creating videos like this.
They do
of
it
him.
for the right audience, for
Precisely.
their audience.
Yes.
But this Dawn Butler video, no one from my generation is going to watch this and think, oh, yeah. 21 days to go.
But also,
I thought she'd have won you over.
But the difference between her and everybody else in Parliament and Nigel Farage is that the people who look at him see him as the guy from I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here as well. So he's got that demographic. And also, he's cooler than that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's almost beginning to attract that kind of Andrew Tate following. I mean, for better
Probably.
or worse, a lot of people have their criticisms of that, but he does carry it off, I think, quite well.
He does. Well, we saw what happened when he went into that. We're not going to mention where it happened, obviously, because that would be problematic. But, I mean, this big sort of rally that he had, very Trumpian. It was, and he uses a lot of Trump-like sort of social media things which he tweets out himself.
You can't see Keir Starmer carrying that off, can you?
No.
Or Rishi, honestly.
Did you not see John Ashworth trying to do that stunt where he was shredding the Tory manifesto and he just stood there like, like an empty void? It was bizarre
we like
and very
John
uncomfortable.
Ashworth, don't we? But that sounds very awkward.
Yeah, it was awkward.
Politicians in general just should stay away from comedy, probably TikTok, and probably football.
I believe in that statement where they say politics is for people who are too ugly for showbiz.
It's true.
I mean, it is true, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
I remember the best, political video I've seen was Jenny Mordaunt.
Penny Mordaunt.
Penny Mordaunt.
Jenny
Mordaunt.
Jenny Mordaunt's a good one, though.
Sorry, I'm
Maybe she could come back as Jenny
I do remember her
Mordaunt.
video, though, and it was amazing. You had Rule Britannia playing. It was very patriotic. That's what we want. We just want the flag and the policies.
Yeah.
We don't want
any
TikTok
rapping.
videos or
When you see the Suella Braverman one.
Oh, that was funny.
That was,
that
my
was
God.
funny.
I can't believe that somebody thought that was really quite good, so let's put that out. This is, again, it goes down to the advisors, and I'm like, no, did you were you dropped on your head as a child at some point? It was ridiculous.
I've met a number of special advisors over the years, right? None of them have been special.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't take advice off any of them.
Exactly right. Speaking of which, let's talk about the Surrey police.
Yeah, well, this is a very moving story.
Rawhide.
Yeah, and, I don't want to upset animal lovers, which we are as a nation, but this was a story that became a very, very big story. And I don't have any particular beef with Surrey police.
See what you did.
He'll have loads of these now. Just wait.
But, but what happened...
A mistake.
What happened was...
Very good.
What happened was a cow escaped.
Excuse me.
And some really ghastly footage appeared on social media of a Surrey police car mowing it down.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so... No, I can't watch this.
It's horrible.
horrible.
It's absolutely horrible.
Luckily, though, we can say, if you are watching this and you feel squeamish, the cow is okay.
I'm amazed by that.
I know.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
And I hope that cow gets taken to some kind of lovely sanctuary where it can see out its days in a nice pasture, among the daisies where cows should be chewing
We can go
on
to the police
cars.
station. There's not much going on there.
Yeah.
Quiet.
It might actually be more useful than some of what's going on there.
Well, I saw images of the cow a couple of days afterwards on the telly. It had blue antiseptic spray on it, on its wounds and all that sort of stuff. And it looked a bit sorrowful, but otherwise all right, I think.
Yeah, alive, though, at least.
But,
But the police officer in question has been removed from frontline duties. Now, I call me old-fashioned. I didn't realise frontline duties involved driving cars at animals.
Thought you were going to say they don't do any
No, well, they don't.
Anyway.
The issue is that why wouldn't he stop for a human being? I mean, if he's not stopping for an animal and a cow, which you can clearly see on the road, this is something quite concerning.
They were doing it deliberately in order to disable the animal because it was supposedly dangerous.
Right, but one of their excuses was that they had been dealing with the situation for some hours. Well, doing what?
Yeah, why didn't they get hold of vets, farmers, the RSPCA?
Right.
What alternatives
Spider-Man.
were done?
There's plenty of tools in the armoury, aren't there? You'd have a stun thing for an animal. I mean,
Couldn't they taser it?
Zoos have plenty of these things, I'm sure, at their disposal.
So the driver of the car is now behind a desk, on a desk job. Now,
so he's not been suspended or anything?
No, but just removed from frontline duties.
There's not enough of them
back
to
in the
suspend
day, I'd have popped down a supermarket, and the minute he sat at his new desk, there'd have been a tub of horseradish waiting for him. You know what I mean?
Or would you not have got one of those cushions that when you sit on it, it goes
exactly.
like that? Yeah.
You'd get sacked for that kind of thing these days.
Yeah, that's not
you can't have a sense of humour in the workplace. No, none of that.
Well, I think you pick up an interesting point there, Peter, is that there's the fact that this story just became so big so quickly. I know we are a nation of animal lovers and all the rest of it.
I came in on Monday and I knew this was going to be a huge story.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, that's it.
You were talking about.
Very much so. Thank you very much indeed.
But you know, like what? Kids get stabbed in the middle of the street in London, barely gets a notice. But you know, a cow gets hit by a car twice, and everyone's in absolute.
And there was,
outcry.
I mean, I'm not going to go down the serious vegan route or anything, but people were going, you know, people kill cows every day by the thousands, you know.
Yeah, but not quite with that methodology.
But the point is, you don't watch it and you don't see it.
Yeah.
And also, I spoke to quite a few people who rang in, an amazing number of people who knew about cows and what to do with them, and they all said, look, it's quite easy to distract a cow.
Yeah.
You literally can shine a torch in its eyes, and it will follow the torch. You can lead it literally down.
Doesn't work with my wife.
No, thank you very much indeed. I'm not having that. That's misogyny now. And you know, literally lead it down the garden path and put it in behind somebody's gate, and then leave it there until it calms down a bit.
Why was such a panic?
But the idea that you have to, you know, it's like a lion on the loose in Staines High Street. I mean, really?
Do you remember when those police horses escaped, which was also awful? And I think they had military horses, and they've actually also made a recovery, I think. But no one was trying to mow them down, were they? I mean, there are ways of dealing with these things.
Mind you wouldn't want half a ton of runaway horse meat licking it at you. You know, they can do some damage.
Oh, of course.
But that's horses. I mean, they're running very fast. The cow is not running. It's just meandering about.
One of the horses was involved in trooping the colour.
Yeah.
It got all through, really.
3 came back, 2 are still recuperating.
Yeah.
That seems a bit of a risk, doesn't it?
Yeah. Just so we don't want you to think that we're always picking on the English police, though, we've got something from America for you to prove that not all police forces are as stupid as each other. Have a look.
Here in Tacoma Park, if police catch your child this summer in the act, they might get a ticket. The Operation Chill program is now underway, but take a look at the citation closely. It's a free Slurpee. This is an innovative way the police department here is aiming to reduce crime.
So a reward for kids doing good, I presume that now involves actually not robbing anyone.
Yeah.
So not robbing anyone gives you a free Slurpee.
Oh my God, that's the most American thing I think I've ever seen. His hair was brilliant, though.
I don't think it was going to catch on here.
Right, Isabel,
about as much evidence
Oxford.
as we have.
I mean, I hesitate because it's so much fun to actually pick on individuals. I hesitate to nominate an entire city.
Yes.
But ladies and gentlemen, I present you with Oxford. I'm unfortunate enough to live very near Oxford. It is a city of Brompton bikes and corduroy trousers and vegetarian curries and rainbow flags and Palestinian flags.
Right.
And this city, I think, you know, we've always think of Brighton as being the wokest city in Britain.
Yes.
I think Oxford has got it into its head that it wants to compete with Brighton.
Yeah.
And the list of outrages there is just unbelievable. But let me just give you one example. So there is an immigration detention centre just outside Oxford, which was closed down some time ago. And it's where people go to get processed before allegedly being deported.
Right.
It got closed down. It's now being refurbished and is about to reopen. Now, in most parts of Britain, if there's going to be an immigration centre opening near you, you get a bit angry about it. Why? Because you don't want those people, I'm not talking about me, but generally people will be pretty nervous. They don't
crowds
like
of young men,
yeah, they just don't like the idea. It's not that they don't agree with them being there, they just don't want it in their backyard.
Right.
But not Oxford. What's happened in Oxford? People are protesting against reopening this immigration detention centre because Oxford is a city of sanctuary,
of course.
don't you know? So actually we shouldn't have any immigration detention. They want to welcome all refugees and not have any detention whatsoever. And this is supported at the highest level. We've got all the academics at Oxford writing letters. They wrote, like a bunch of the professors wrote in bleating about, you know, this is dehumanising, putting immigrants behind bars. You've got the city council objecting to it. And just like, what has happened to this thing? The city of dreaming spires has just become unrecognisable in its philosophies.
I see a chink of light.
Do you?
Oxford United a couple of weeks ago, got promoted back into the Championship.
They absolutely did.
So next year, Millwall will be coming to Oxford. And that'll be a joy for them, won't it?
That will be
I'm
nice.
liking your chink of light, yeah.
But also, the university has become beset, has it not?
So
Peter Hitchens had a piece in the paper this week about the state of Oxford Museum, I think it was, outside Oxford Museum. Alex, you'll know about this because I mean, you were there just recently.
But well, you know, actually, I can present my experience here, and I had such a wonderful, pleasant time with people who were very sort of
at Oxford Uni.
welcoming of my opinions, knowing full well that I am definitely more on the Conservative side for sure.
Right.
So
did you ever walk through the Palestinian encampment?
That's the thing. There are tents everywhere. So I agree. I do think it's a city that has sort of, you know, what we're seeing, this complete disorder of law and order. But, you know, my experience at the university was actually fine. I got by very well and I enjoyed my degree.
I'm sure you did, but for ordinary people, they can't even get their car through Oxford because it is a city of so-called 15-minute zones where they've literally blocked off the ends of roads to make it as hard as possible for anyone who isn't on a Brompton bike to get anywhere.
Well, I speak regularly to Florence Pugh's dad, who you probably know runs a couple of restaurants in Oxford Road, and he's been up against the council for quite a long time, trying to stop them because he's like, restaurants are going out of business. You can't get from one end of it to the other. People wait on buses for hours on end.
Exactly. The issue here is the council, and they are so utterly left-wing. This should be a warning to everybody against voting against Labour, and then I think previously they were Lib Dem. So the point is that if this is what you want for the future of the country, then go ahead, vote Labour. But it's extremely concerning that the 15-minute cities, the breakdown of law and order, basically
and what's the crime like
crime.
up there as well? Is there crime in Oxford?
I think masses of it, and you know, housebreak, everything. In fact, I spoke to a friend and neighbour the other day. I don't live in the city, and they had been burgled in the middle of the night with somebody with a pickaxe, and they were basically asleep when it happened. And next day, sure enough, police don't want to know. You know, just because they had a pickaxe, nothing to see here, move on. I mean, and this is just everywhere. So it isn't that Oxford has lost its way and doesn't know who or what it is. It knows precisely what it is. My issue is I don't think that the vast majority of people in this country want cities like that.
No, exactly right. There was also that story this week, I'm just trying to find it here, of the Nigerian mosque that was brought to Oxford Museum. I think it was a museum in Oxford.
Not for ladies.
Yeah, well, apparently women can't look at this mosque.
Women
I
aren't
don't know if you've got any of these at home, Peter. But you, apparently in the ritual...
He wears one.
The ritual that they use this mask for, women are banned from actually going anywhere near the ceremony, right? So these idiots from the University Museum in Oxford import some of these masks and decide not to put them on display on the basis that women shouldn't be able to gaze upon them.
Because that would be cultural, culturally
so utterly discriminatory,
isn't it?
In a country which suffragettes fought and literally died for the vote over 100 years ago.
But this,
they would be so ashamed to see what's happened to this country.
You made my case there.
This is
it is absolutely ridiculous. I'm trying to find a reason why you're not allowed
I mean,
to
but what about our culture and our heritage and our tradition of women fighting for the vote, fighting for our
But also, the point is,
it's
fine. Like, you know, let us look at other cultures. Let us see what it is that they do. But why would you say, well, because they don't want their women to look at it, you can't look at it either?
My biggest question: if you can't put it on display, why would you have it here?
The thing that I found most interesting...
Is a public museum the best place to put a cult item?
The thing I found quite fascinating, though, was the story of the Daily Telegraph, and they didn't run a picture of it either. Well, and I'm going, what, now I want to see this bloody mask. I don't care what it's about. I want to see it. I might even buy one and wear it and walk around wearing it. You know?
It's a kind of great PR trick.
You see, that's the British spirit, Mike.
Yeah.
We need that.
The invisible mask.
These stories increasingly irritate me because the erosion of women's rights, their standing, their safety, their security in this country is gathering pace, and it's appalling. My heroes, my mum, my sister, my wife, all pioneers in their field, did so much together with the heroes of yesteryear that you speak about, and yet bit by bit, women's rights, their sport, their everything, their spaces is just being
because
eroded.
anyone can be a woman.
Thank you so much, actually.
Anyone, just wear a skirt and grow your hair long along with a beard, and you can be a woman.
Yeah, and get invited to the White House.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's the Pitt Rivers Museum in Oxford.
I don't visit. I visit the Ashmolean only. So
and it's part of the Igbo culture, apparently.
Yeah.
But no, thank you so much, Mike and Peter, actually, for standing up against this sort of thing, because the issue is as well that men are not faced with these issues such as the discrimination, the kind of transgender movement which is seeking to erode our rights. So those who speak up, thank you so much for it. Because,
okay. Well, I mean, Peter Bleksley's a man of many parts, so he's not known for that. But there we are. Another string to your bow. Coming up, we're going to talk about an American comedian who's been heckled by an anti-Israeli character down in Australia, and also we're going to have some more whiteness and heterosexuality lessons. Coming up next on Plank of the Week. So, Peter, over to you. We've been looking at a whole bunch of very interesting pieces of plankery. You've got something from Jerry Seinfeld.
I do. So Jerry Seinfeld was out in Sydney doing a great comedy set. I'm a big Jerry Seinfeld fan, a big stand-up comedy fan, and some anti-Israeli, pro-Palestine twit decided in his great amount of genius to try and have a go at him in front of thousands of people. Now, Jerry Seinfeld is a very quick-witted guy, and he roasted this poor individual. I think he made him cry at one point. And,
I imagine it won't take much to make these idiots cry.
You know, honestly, he just pulled him apart. I was like, at some point this got personal. Now, Jerry Seinfeld has been caught up in a couple of these. He was
I saw one a while ago in Arizona.
Ceremony.
Yeah, he was doing a graduation ceremony and they all got up and walked out.
Yeah,
Jerry Seinfeld's Jewish.
But he's very well known to be a big pro-Israel supporter, and he signed a letter after the October 7th attack, along with many other Jewish comedians and actors and people in Hollywood, saying, come on, let's actually be sensible here. You know, he's being the sensible voice in the room, and now that makes him basically tantamount to supporting genocide. But the thing is, what really gets me about these protests is I don't think half of them, even 2/3 of them, could point to Israel on a map.
No, of course not.
If I gave them a map, I don't think they could do it, and it's just become a matter of virtue signalling. It's become an issue of just having the right politics to fit in, and it's pathetic.
It really is. Well, we've all seen, haven't we, those parades where people are out demonstrating. Somebody goes up to the microphone and asks them, do you know which river and which sea you're singing about? And they don't know.
No.
They don't even know from the river to the sea, from which river to which sea.
LGBT rights thing.
No.
LGBT.
The quiz for Palestine.
That is just so beyond ignorant.
I know.
It? And some of these supporters, they genuinely don't know. It's not like this is a campaign to try and get their rights recognised there. They literally think that they're already represented there.
I know.
My thing with that is I'd quite like to start like a GoFundMe. We could go buy some plane tickets for them and say, go try and throw pride in Gaza and see what happens.
See how you get on. Well, let's have a look at this character in Australia.
There's the police.
You have strong political feelings, but you don't know where to say them. You think that ruining the night, it doesn't affect me. All these people, you're ruining their night.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it gets a lot more personal than that.
Yes, he does.
But he's getting dragged out of there. I see the BBC did their part again this week. Emma Barnett on the Radio 4 Today programme referred to, she was talking about one of the grandmothers who was kidnapped and taken hostage on October the 7th. She described the men that entered the house armed with submachine guns, intent on killing and raping and basically taking hostages as men working for Hamas.
Right.
And you're kind of going, sorry? Not working for Hamas.
You're working for McDonald's.
They've come in from B&Q or something.
They've got job vacancies
to fit the kitchen. Men working for Hamas.
Wow. What annoys me the most about that is it just doesn't surprise me.
No.
That's what I find more annoying is that this is where we are in this issue now, is that people will not say that Hamas are a terrorist organisation.
No.
I don't understand why they won't.
No.
And so somehow,
I do. We all understand why they won't.
Yeah,
because they're anti-Semitic.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
And I think that's the point, is that we're now at the point now where the mask has slipped too many times, where they keep hiding behind, we're just criticising Israel. No, you're not.
No.
The mask has slipped and we know exactly what you're doing and we see it. And unfortunately, there's not enough people calling it out when we see it.
Yeah, because refusing to represent Hamas as terrorists is basically tantamount to accepting that they are the resistance.
I mean,
and that's what it means.
There is one mercy in this election campaign, which is that this whole issue has played a lot less part than I feared it would.
Yes, I completely agree with
I
that.
thought it would have been like dominant, and actually, thankfully, you know, we've heard very little from the likes of certain loud-mouthed people that I'm not going to mention, otherwise we might find ourselves having to list candidates. But thanks for that.
Considering what happened in a by-election just before the election, I would agree with you, Isabel. I thought this was going to be horrific and it was going to dominate, surprisingly, and I think surprisingly to many.
But isn't it remarkable as well that, you know, Jerry Seinfeld can go, I know it's going to sound slightly antediluvian, can go all the way to Australia, and it's the same problem there as it is at Harvard, as it is at Oxford, as it is all over the Western world, that these people just want to disrupt everything.
But it's these entitled people, whether it's JSO, whether it's the radical elements of the LGBTQ plus brigade.
Oh, whatever, you
know, whatever
Animal
it is.
Rising.
These people that are forcing their agendas. It's the tyranny of these minorities. And it's absolute tyranny to stand up there when people have worked very hard, bought an expensive ticket, no doubt, to go and have a fabulous night out, got dressed up, come on, off we go. And then somebody to think they've got the right to stand up and try and wreck it.
I know.
The entitlement.
Yeah.
It's the tyranny.
It's more smacking in the mouth time, isn't it, Peter?
I mean, I
see a pattern emerging here.
As you said, Mike, the fact that they can't point out places on a map shows that the truth is they are not actually political experts in any way on this cause.
They're not experts in anything.
It's just the idea of trying to belong to something, to a radical movement, and that's what's most concerning because these people are radicalised. You know, they have nothing to do with innocent victims dying in the Gaza Strip or in Israel.
But let's talk about...
They are just radicalised and
let's talk about why they're radicalised, because you're up next with Liverpool University.
Yes.
And this is why they're radicalised.
Well, precisely. There was an audit in the University of Liverpool, which is a very good university, but it was for the history faculty for their seminars, and essentially, you know, warned academics of the importance of problematizing whiteness and heterosexuality in their history seminars, which I find incredibly divisive, firstly, and also incredibly discriminatory. And, you know, I'm
Well, they wouldn't do it the other way around, would they? They wouldn't highlight the problems of blackness.
No, but exactly. This is the issue. The issue is that they're creating a category here which is racist, to be quite frank. If you're going to start imputing characteristics on a group of people based on their skin colour, which is, I guess, what they're trying to do here. Extremely racist and
homogenising white people to the point where all white people are the same.
Exactly.
Which, if you did to anybody else, would be
and
immediately...
especially if you do study history, you realise that there are a lot more important factors which play into historical perspectives, like socioeconomic background,
which is a
far more profitable academic way of actually analysing history rather than based on skin colour.
But it's like they're obsessed with finding reasons to sort of slag off, you know, what is our culture, effectively.
The issue is that I feel sorry for any students in the classroom who may be white and heterosexual. How are they meant to feel when they're taught that, you know, their historical perspective is problematic, or that, you know, we should start decolonising the curriculum. You know, there's
that's what happened with this museum and the masks, to go back to that. I mean, that's all about decolonising the museum.
But it's almost got to that extent with Pride. I mean, it is so utterly suffocating. The flags, the, you know, you all belong, be part of the club thing. You know, I think the rest of us who are just kind of basic heterosexuals are beginning to feel a bit marginalised at this point.
Well, we haven't got a flag, have we? I mean, everybody's got a flag now.
I don't belong to any of these LGBTQ blah, 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 whatever it is. You're sounding like Joe Biden there, but you know what I mean.
Well, as a straight white bloke who's old enough to be in history books now, you know what I mean? I think I need to have a bit of a dialogue with Liverpool University.
I think you should. You should
because they're being clearly prejudicial against me. And for what reason? Because I came out my mum's womb,
but more importantly,
because I prefer my wife to blokes.
Well, most of the time.
Most of the time.
I mean, look,
the
thing is, they're also discriminating against your children, though. You know, your progeny who might want to go to university. And I mean, my kids are now of that age, and I'm getting pretty wound up by some of the stuff they're being told.
Exactly.
I can tell you that.
The issue is, by pushing this extremely ideological agenda onto, like, you know, degree courses like history, they're creating so much more division in our society, which is not needed. You know, I feel, again, this is extremely unprofessional behaviour, in fact, really.
Alice, I might have another chink of light, OK? There's a professor from Arizona State University who was forced to go into a diversity, equality and inclusion course, during which they came up with the same racist nonsense by slagging off the whiteness, etc., etc. Forgive my clumsy language. I left school at 16, but you get my point. Okay, and he is suing the university.
What, for making him go through it?
Yeah. Subjecting him to it.
The thing that always gets me is these people don't remember that they created people like Jordan Peterson, for example. You know, like he basically became famous because he rebelled against this kind of thing. And I always have to remind people that Frankenstein is the name of the doctor and not the monster.
Yes.
You know, and that's, I know it's such a millennial point to make, but they keep forgetting.
They don't know about that.
Yeah, no, that's true.
They don't know who wrote it either.
That one was written by a white woman, so I don't know if that one's allowed.
Yeah. Well, first they have to find out who wrote it before they can get outraged about it.
That's true.
I mean, ignorance is bliss now for most of these people. You know, they know all about, you know, how many LGBTQ stripes there are in a flag, but they don't know who wrote Frankenstein.
True.
There we are. That's education for you. We've got one more to go, and it's one of our favourites, actually. He works for the BBC sometimes, and he's on television quite a lot, particularly now during the Euros. It's all coming up next on Plank of the Week. So, the Euros. You're a football fan, Peter. You've been watching the Euros. Have you noticed anything unusual about the presentation style of one Gary Lineker?
Well, you know, I was watching him the other night on there, and he had a sort of T-shirty thing on, and I thought, I've seen that somewhere before.
Yeah.
And I was scratching my head, and then my wife just passed me the next magazine.
And there it was, the catalogue.
The catalogue.
Yeah.
And there it was.
Where he's looking very dapper in, I think it's called a knit. It's some kind of a sort of a round neck thing. Sometimes it's a cardigan-y looking thing. Right. But normally Gary Lineker wears what you might call sort of, you know, responsible looking presenter type clothes. He's now been accused of using BBC Euros kind of studio to market his own clothing line,
well, the funny
which is what he gets paid quite well for.
Well, the
it's
funny
against the
thing
laws,
was,
against the BBC guidelines.
Right, because I went off and made a cup of tea at half time.
Did you?
And I came back for the second half and he was wearing something else.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing.
He did have a whole range.
He has a whole range.
He thinks he's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, he does.
Swift
and I was thinking to myself, because I watched him actually last night, and he was back, because after the complaint came in, he changed back into more sort of regular, like white shirt with a collar, you know, and looked as if he'd been told, you know, you can't do that because it is against BBC guidelines. His excuse, of course, for it was when he was interviewed once and asked why did he wear a particular shirt with a label on it, which he was also paid to promote. He said it was a mistake.
Right.
And everyone went,
right,
because he said we don't have a wardrobe budget, and so we dress ourselves at the BBC. Like that's a big thing.
Yeah, like normal people do.
I can officially state that here at Plank of the Week we don't also have a wardrobe budget either.
You'd never guess.
Speak for yourself. You never know. I spend mine wisely.
Yes, exactly. But you know, the fact is that again, Gary Lineker just keeps pushing the buttons, and BBC keep finding reasons to say it's okay. Yeah. It's not. It doesn't apply to
there are rules, and then there's the Gary Lineker exception.
Yeah.
That seems to be what it is now.
And do we really think the sky would fall in if they just fired him? I mean, would their ratings really plummet?
They wouldn't.
I've wondered.
Well, we saw when
the talent is available.
Yeah. Well, do you remember that time when
talent in inverted
when he went on strike? He was suspended, and everybody went on strike. Matches they had their highest ratings ever.
Yeah.
Which is partly because everybody wanted to see what it would be like without him, but. There's absolutely no reason why we could not
the answer was better.
Yes, and there's no reason to suggest that we couldn't save £1.25 million a year and just get rid of him.
Maybe they could have the wardrobe budget.
Although they're not going to sack him before the end of the Euros, obviously, or perhaps ever. But what I'd like now, if he is going to do these costume changes, is when we get to the knockout stages, there could, of course, be extra time and penalties. Yeah. I'd like to see him in a different outfit for all of those.
Maybe a ball gown by the time it gets to the final.
Who knows?
You know, let's have a look at what he did when they asked him, you know, whether he had a wardrobe allowance.
Here we go again. New season, new titles, new managers, new signings. But apart from that, nothing much has really changed.
He's in quite good shape.
He's in very good shape, right? Well, you know, there's a couple of reasons for that.
Yeah.
But the reason he did that was because he lost a bet. Because I think he said, did he not say if Leicester won the league?
Yeah. Leicester won the league?
Just
wanted to show
he would turn up and do the show in his underpants.
How old do we think he is?
He's 63.
No, stop.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Steady.
that's
I
impressive.
think
Impressive, yeah.
Better get a dose of the vapors for Isabel. I'm taking a turn.
I did a day's work with Mr. Lineker some years ago.
Yeah. No, he's a very fit guy. There's no question. I mean, he's an ex-footballer. He's always looked after himself. And I mean, he's a decent looking guy.
Yeah.
But, enough with the, he's making enough money. He doesn't need to keep pushing clothing lines on us, does he?
Not at all. And again, it just seems to me that the BBC seem terrified of sacking him.
They are.
And I don't understand it. I agree with Isabel. Like, I'm not a football fan. I honestly couldn't care less. But I don't get this idea that without him, everything's just going to collapse. And I'm like, there are other people available to sit and watch a TV game.
There certainly are.
And commentate it. I've heard better people down the pub.
Are you ready to go out there in your shorts and a naked top?
I won't need a wardrobe budget. And, I won't do anything compromising.
Thank God.
My depth of football knowledge runs very deep indeed.
Don't do the show topless, whatever you do.
No.
Don't want to see that reaction again from Isabel. It's quite unnerving. So, I mean, here's the thing. I don't want to give it to Just Stop Oil, even though they are probably the biggest planks of the week. I don't really want to give it to the politicians. We did that last week. Gave it to all of them because they were so plankish. I think we should give it to the Surrey police for the running over of the cow.
Yeah.
Which is so horrendous.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
What do you think, guys?
The only thing is planks are almost like, it's almost too nice for them calling them plankish.
Yes.
It's so cruel.
It is absolutely and utterly idiotic.
I feel like the cat that's got the cream.
Very well done. Thank you very much indeed. So there we are. We'll do that. Plank of the week goes to the Surrey police for not knowing what to do with a runaway cow. The more you say it, the more ridiculous it sounds. Thank you very much. No wonder they can't solve any bloody crime.
Sounds like a Monty Python sketch,
I know.
doesn't it?
Peter, Isabel, Peter and Alice, thank you very much indeed. We'll be back next week with more plankery. See you then. These are the candidates in the Brent East constituency for the election on Thursday, the 4th of July, 2024. Nida Al-Falaj, Green Party. Dawn Butler, Labour Party. Jenna Clarence Joseph Folwell, Independent. Zabignew Kowalczyk, Reform UK. Amin Moafi, Independent. James Muttimer, Workers' Party of Britain. Jamila Robertson, Conservative and Unionist Party. Adil Sheikh, Independent. Johnny Singh, Liberal Democrat.